What's up, everybody? All right. So, welcome to Kicking It with Crowder, everybody. I want to welcome you all in tonight. Episode 2. Got my NFL predictions coming to you tonight. What's up, JPG? Hey, man, can you share this to the Glory page real quick, man? I appreciate it. And so I got my college football playoff picks tonight. Division winners, also NFL division winners, playoff bracket. So I got all that tonight. Kicking It with Crowder, episode 2, college football edition, guys. So I'll let a couple of y'all join real quick. We'll listen to a little instrumental right now with Drake, and we'll get started, man. So yeah, if y'all can hit that like button, hit that share button, comment down below. Let me know who y'all got tonight and for the season, guys. So let's go. All right. Who you got, Who you got, Parker? Who's going to go to the playoff? Let me know. If you also join the live, guys, let me know. Sometimes it doesn't let me know who's following along. Testing. All right, guys. So one more minute or so, we'll let everyone join, and then we'll get started. Thank y'all. Let me know who y'all got, man. Who y'all got in the college football playoff? Who's going to win the NFC South? Is it going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Saints, Falcons? Guys, let me know. Who's MVP of the season? Heisman Trophy winner? I mean, I want to hear all that. Let's go. All right, guys. So, went ahead and played some music, let some people join. We're going to go ahead and get started here in 3, 2, 1. And welcome, everybody, to Kicking It with Crowder. It's season 2 for us, episode 2. We have a special football edition to bring to you tonight. We will not be talking any MLB. We will not be talking any NBA. Strictly NFL and college football tonight, guys. So this is the bones of my show. This is what brought me to what started my podcast up last year, guys. I just had a college football podcast for the first 4 or 5 months, and then it kind of transitioned into other sports. So I'm back to my roots tonight, talking football, talking SEC football, Big 12 football, ACC football, Big 10 and Pac-12. We will not be talking about any of your teams because you have decided to sit out. So I just want to say, guys, I am excited to bring you the show tonight, and I hope y'all are ready for it. And if y'all just give me 1 second, I have to make a little text real quick. Sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second. All right. Give me 1 second. All right, so I'll pick my conference champs tonight: SEC, ACC, Big 12, Sun Belt, and the American Athletic Conference. So I'll be doing all that tonight. Also, we'll have my college football playoff picks and my Heisman Trophy winner for tonight as well. Tune in for that. Also, we'll pick my NFL division winners and the NFL playoff bracket. A lot of new teams probably won't be in the playoffs this year. It happens every year in the NFL, and NFL is quietly back. They made it through training camp. Not too many injuries on the offensive side. I know Derwin James has a torn meniscus for the LA Chargers. He is out. And also Von Miller does tear a ligament in his ankle today or yesterday, so he will be out for a significant time. The Broncos they are putting him on injured reserve, but they're not saying he's out for the season. So a lot of players get through training camp unscathed, unhurt. A lot of healthy teams right now, no preseason games. A lot of undrafted free agents that normally make rosters did not make it. But shout out to Asang Bassi. He is a cornerback from Wake Forest. He's a Columbus, Georgia native, played I think at Chattahoochee County, then came over and played at Columbus High School. He's actually made the Denver Broncos 53-man roster. So big shout out to you, sir. Thank you for grinding hard and putting on for Columbus. So shout out to you, Asang. And also, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Texans, guys, they play tomorrow night. So you better go ahead and get your fantasy roster set. I will go ahead and give you the pick for tomorrow night's NFL Thursday night game. And what I'll do is I will bring you the NFL pick every Thursday night. I'll go ahead and pick I'll go ahead and make the pick on my Wednesday show. So thank y'all so much for joining, guys. If you be sure, guys, to set your fantasy lineups like I told you, and let's rock and roll. We'll also discuss some college football locks for this weekend and NFL Thursday night picks. So I'm going to give you 3 games tonight to look out for, and I'm really, really excited, guys, to bring you these picks. So before we get started, be sure to hit that like button, hit the share button down below. Also, if you could share this, hit the comment button down below, and give me your college football playoff and NFL Super Bowl picks for tonight. You can also find me on the Apple Podcast, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app. Plus, guys, I am on YouTube and Twitter at Kick It With Crow. And guys, let's have a great show, and let's go. All right. So I want to dive into college football this year, and it's going to look a lot different. I think with a team like LSU last year, they just had all the parts, all the players. They had the recruits, and Ed Orgeron brought in Joe Brady, and it all just clicked. And Joe Burrow threw 60 touchdowns, and they're college football champions. Well, this year, I just don't think it's going to be someone who's going to surprise people. I think it's going to be an Alabama. I think it's going to be a Clemson program. One of these two teams, I think, really has a great chance to get to the national championship game, not only based off talent, based off recruiting, based off coach. They have great coaching staffs. Nick Saban, I think a team like Nick Saban, who is very disciplined, and I think a team like that is really going to, go far in a season like this where it's only 10 games, not a lot of practice times you've had, just a team that has a nice organization run through the top to the bottom. I think those kind of teams like Alabama and Clemson are going to shine this year. I really do. LSU, they've lost a couple players now, Ja'Marr Chase. They've lost Joe Burrow. They lost Hilaire Edwards, Justin Jefferson just on offense. And then defense, they've also they lost Del Pitt, and they lost the nose tackle who just opted out. They do bring back maybe one of the best college football players in the nation in Derek Stingley. But besides that, I mean, it's going to be a little bit tougher year this year for LSU to get going. I really do believe that. I think 7-3, 8-2 could maybe be the record for the LSU Tigers this year. And in the SEC. I mean, that's not going to get you to the SEC championship game. You have an Alabama program, you have LSU, and you have Auburn. Those 3 teams, I think, are going to be the cream of the crop in the West. And then in the East, you have a Georgia Bulldogs team and a Florida Gators team. And I've gone back and forth on Florida and Georgia this year. I've really liked Georgia over Florida the last few years, but I think the gap is closing. And then especially with Jamie Newman, opting out, who was there for 8.5 months, was going to be the starter, was maybe supposed to be a Heisman Trophy candidate, SEC type newcomer of the year type player, and now it looks like JT Daniels could be the starter, but he's coming off an ACL injury. We're not sure how he is right now. So a little bit of a question mark with UGA. I mean, they got the receiver in Pickens. They got the two running backs with Cook and Zamir White in the backfield. Also bring in a Kendall Milton from California. He is a great player as well. And then the defense. You're talking about a young defense led by Richard LeCount, who is a senior this year. But they do have a lot of young guys on that defensive line. Nolan Smith, one of the number one players coming out of the 2019 class. He is now a sophomore. And, Georgia has a deep defensive line. They will be rotating guys in and out of there. And also, you got Monty Rice, who's going to lead the linebacker corps. Of course, they lose Tate Crowder, who was so valuable to that defense last year. But they bring back Richard LeCount. And then, at cornerback, they've had a guy transfer out. They've also had a player hurt. But I think Eric Stokes really makes a leap this year with UGA. So expect the UGA defense, to give up anywhere between 14 and 18 points a game this year, something like that. If Georgia can stay competitive on the defensive side and just not beat themselves on offense, I think Todd Monken wants to throw the ball around, get the ball in these playmakers' hands. The scheme, I think they're going to be a little bit more risky this year. If they let Fromm kind of just not lose the ball game, it seemed like at times, and let the defense win the ball game. I think Georgia's got to be a little bit more aggressive on offense this year. And if JT Daniels can be the kind of passer he was 2 years ago with USC and has fully recovered from this injury, it's going to be hard for me not to pick the Georgia Bulldogs coming out of the East. They could even lose to Florida and then still possibly get in to the college football playoff. But I just don't see a Dan Mullen team. Kyle Trask, I'm not as big on him as everyone else is. Kyle Trask is a player who didn't play for a long time, came on the scene last year, and did play well. But I'm just not sold on Kyle Trask as a national champion type quarterback, a Heisman Trophy type quarterback. I'm just not sold on him. He does have some playmakers at wide receiver and running back. Also, the defense is much improved. That they did lose some defensive linemen to the NFL this year, but they bring in the Georgia transfer. I think he'll have a big season this year with the Florida Gators, and we'll see what happens when they square off in Jacksonville this year. But Georgia, Florida, the cream of the crop in the East, and then in the West, I really like Auburn as possibly the second best team coming out of the West. I really do. Auburn, it just depends on how it shakes with Georgia in the second week of the season. If they can, also they have a tough game against Kentucky, so if they can possibly get through the first two games, and Georgia Georgia and Auburn always play pretty close. I know Georgia has dominated the series of late, but they do normally play pretty close matchups. But I think Alabama, Nick Saban this year, that loaded defense, he's going to have a young loaded defense. He'll have the 2 first-round receivers as well. Najee Harris comes back for his senior year. 3 linemen return. And Bryce Young, who Mac Jones will probably be the starter at the beginning of the season, but I really like Bryce Young and what he can bring to this Alabama offense. The number 1 player in the 24/7 sports rankings. He is a heck of a player. Really reminds me of a Russell Wilson type guy. Quick feet, great reflexes. I think he's going to step in, and I think he's going to make a huge impact on this Alabama offense and really open up the offense, similar to what Jalen Hurts used to do at Alabama. Similar to Tua. They got these guys that they haven't had before, and I think Bryce Young is a top tier talent, and I think he will be starting by mid-season. That's just that's my prediction. I'm kind of sticking to that. I've seen enough from him from some tape he's shown at practice, also some scrimmages as well. I think he fits the bill, and I think he'll be a 4-year starter for Alabama. I really think that. And Bryce Young, the Alabama faithful will really enjoy what he brings to the team. So Bryce Young, Alabama. Like I said, I got to pick Alabama as the SEC champion this year. Last year, I did have the Georgia Bulldogs beating Alabama in the championship, but I'm going to go a little bit different this year. I am going to pick. I'm going to say that Alabama does beat UGA in the SEC championship, which will benefit another SEC team, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. So I got Alabama beating UGA in the SEC championship. Had UGA last year, and then it really was the pick with Jamie Newman. Losing Jamie Newman I think that Georgia can still go 9-1. That's my prediction for them, but I have them losing to to Alabama, and that may not be enough to sneak into the playoff. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll have that all here in a little bit. And in the ACC, it's a 3-team race right now. It's Clemson, it's Notre Dame, and yes, Notre Dame has joined the ACC this year. So it's Clemson, it's Notre Dame, and then it's North Carolina. And North Carolina, a lot of people maybe are like, wow, North Carolina's back, and Mack Brown has this team ready to roll. Not only is he hitting the recruiting trail for next season really, really hard, he's been able to bring in a couple 5-star guys. Had a guy reclassify a 5-star, Tony Brown, who's a corner. He'll be playing this year, and they've already lost 2 or 3 cornerbacks for opting out or transferring. So I think that Mack Brown and Sam Howell, Sam Howell's a guy who's committed to Florida State for a year or so, ended up transferring to North Carolina. Oh, sorry. Ended up transferring to North Carolina and had a really, really good freshman season. He's a top 5, top 7 quarterback in college football. I think he leads. This North Carolina program in his second year with Mack Brown. I think he leads this team to the ACC championship. I really do. I think that UNC does upset Notre Dame in that Friday night matchup that they're going to have this year. I think North Carolina sneaks in and they play Clemson, and they give Clemson a pretty good game to start, but I think Clemson is just going to be too talented on offense, too talented on defense. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, those 2 guys are going to have a great season. Also, they have a true freshman wide receiver from Central High School in Phoenix City, E.J. Williams. He is the real deal. I think he is going to produce this year in his freshman season, kind of replacing his former teammate Justin Ross, who is out this year with a neck injury. So E.J. Williams, another name to watch there. Travis Etienne. They have 2, 3, 4 guys at every position. Clemson is just absolutely loaded. Also, Brian Breesy, the number 1 defensive tackle from last year, is going to be on that defensive line getting snaps on first and second down. So watch out for him. And then they just reload, kind of similar to what Alabama does now. They just go out and they get these 4, 5-star quarter recruits, and they produce. Clemson used to get the 3-star guys and build them up, and now they're just getting the 4 and 5-star guys. And what Dabo Swinney's able to do in the ACC is truly special. I mean, what he's been able to build there at Clemson, he's a hell of a coach. And the ACC really needs that 3rd, 4th team to kind of emerge. They need a Florida State. They need a Miami. They need one of these former blue bloods of college football to come back. And I like what Mike Norvell's doing at FSU. I'm just not sure that the Seminoles are ready. I just don't know with the transfer. What's up, Brandon? With the transfers that FSU's had, they bring in 7 or 8 guys this year who have actually been ruled eligible. So 2 defensive guys from Mississippi State, also a running back from Texas A&M. So you add 3 SEC players to your program right there. But the quarterback situation is kind of still unsolved. I'm not sold on James Blackman. But Corbin will probably be the running back from Texas A&M. You got Tamarion Terry, a really, really great receiver on the outside. And then the defense, of course, is led by the not Ed Oliver. I don't know why I'm trying to say that. The big guy, 21, Marvin Wilson. I'm sorry, I went blank for a second. Marvin Wilson from FSU. He is going to be a top 15, top 20 pick in the NFL draft this year. If those 2 guys that I just mentioned, Terry and Wilson, can have good years, maybe FSU can go 7-3, 8-2, and surprise some folks this year. But I'm not getting too excited this year. I'm just going to let Mike Norvell's first year play out. I think 6-4, 7-3 would be very, very feasible for FSU to do. But 8-2 would be a hell of a year for the Florida State Seminoles. And then Miami, De'Aaron King, they play tomorrow night, UAB. I'll talk about that game here in a little bit. But De'Aaron King, is he going to be able to? Is he going to be able to do what he did at Houston? I think the answer there is yes. I think he's going to put up some numbers this year. I don't look for Miami to make a national impact this year. I don't think be a sleeper for the college football playoff. But I think D'Eriq King can play some good football and maybe get Miami to that 7-3, 8-2 mark. So we'll see there. So I got Clemson winning the ACC, guys. And then I want to go to the Big 12. And the Big 12, I really got 3 teams I want to focus on. It's the Oklahoma Sooners, can't stop yawning. Also, the Oklahoma State Cowboys, led by Mike Gundy and Chuba Hubbard, and then also Tylan Wallace, the wide receiver. I really, really like Oklahoma State, and I really wanted to put them into the college football playoff. I'm just not sure. I know they have a sophomore quarterback as well. If they had like maybe a senior who's been starting for a few years, or one of these high-profile transfer guys, I really would maybe take Oklahoma State to make the playoffs. But also, I like Iowa State. I like Brock Purdy. I like Matt Campbell. I like what he's been able to do the last few years in Iowa State and building that program and the Cyclones. So those 3 teams are my teams to watch in the Big 12. But I'm going to go with Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. So I got them playing in the rivalry week at the end of the season. And I actually have Oklahoma State beating Oklahoma to win the Big 12. But then I have Oklahoma in the rematch against Oklahoma State just a few weeks later. Oh, golly. Cannot stop yawning. Sorry, guys. So I have Oklahoma rematching with Oklahoma State in the Big 12, and I have Oklahoma winning the Big 12. So I did not have Oklahoma winning last year. I had Texas winning the Big 12. I was wrong on that one. So this year I'm going to follow back on what I did last year. I'm going to take Oklahoma against Oklahoma State, guys, but don't be surprised if Oklahoma State makes some noise. Okay? All right. Give me 1 second. I can get some water. Oh, man. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Wake up a little bit. All right. In the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, guys, I have Cincinnati being able to I think they're a team that is a very, very good sleeper pick for the college football playoff. Not only are they, the Big 12's out of it this year, and also the Pac-12. So Cincinnati, they have a chance, but they are a team that the Bearcats. They're led by the former defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Memphis this year lost a top running back prospect. Also lost some guys. Mike Norvell, of course, leaves the Memphis program. SMU, who's led by the former Texas quarterback. I think those 3 teams are the teams to watch in the American Athletic Conference: Cincinnati, Memphis, and SMU. But I will take Cincinnati in the American Athletic Conference. And in the Sun Belt, it's really a 2-team race for me. And the only reason I'm going to pick this team, it's Georgia Southern, App State for me this year. I think Georgia Southern, building off the bowl win they had last year, I really feel like they can make a huge impact this year in a team, maybe get that team into the top 25. And Georgia Southern, I'm not going to sit here and pick App State to win the Sun Belt with the rivalry that Georgia Southern and App State have. So I'm going to take Georgia Southern. I'm going to take Georgia Southern, Hell Southern. I'm going to take them over App State based off I'm not going to pick App State this year. I'm just not going to do it. Wouldn't be surprised if App State did win the Sun Belt, but I'm going to take the Georgia Southern Eagles out of the Sun Belt and look for them to maybe get a really, really good bowl game later on this season. So if you're just joining the show, guys, thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate it. In the SEC, I have Alabama. In the ACC, I have a Clemson Tigers team beating UNC in the ACC game. SEC Championship, UGA loses to Alabama. Big 12, Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State. American Athletic Conference, I got Cincinnati over SMU. And then in the Sun Belt, guys, I got Georgia Southern beating South Alabama in the Sun Belt Championship, guys. So Georgia Southern gets in over App State on their side of things, and that's how I have it playing out. This is the new Power 5. All right, with the Big 12 and the Pac-12 out. All right. So, college football playoff. This is always a fun pick for me. Last year I had 2 out of the 4 teams correct last year. I also had Georgia winning it all. So I did not have the national championship correct last year, but I did have 2 of the 4 teams making the playoff. In the college football playoff this year, I'm going to start with my number 1 pick, the SEC champion, a team that did not make the playoff last year, but Nick Saban, a Nick Saban-led program, who I already said I think that in a year like this, it's really going to matter what you have as a program, what you have, from top to bottom, and what Alabama is able to do. They're able to reload every single year. I got Alabama as my number 1 seed and Clemson as my number 2 seed, so they really shouldn't shock many people. I think Alabama and Clemson are most people's pick right now to get in the college football playoff and then win the college football playoff. So I think one of those 2 teams, if you had to put your money on a team to win, I think you can't go wrong with one of those 2 teams, Alabama, Clemson, and then I'm going to throw Oklahoma in the playoff. A team that, I had losing to Oklahoma State, but then beating them in the rematch. I think Oklahoma, led by Spencer Rattler, Lincoln Riley, if they could just get a defense, I think they could be a really, really dangerous team. And then, my last team in the college football playoff, and this was really, really hard for me. This was really, really, really tough for me. I didn't know who to pick for. I wanted to pick an SEC team here. I really think 2 SEC teams are going to get in. So it came down to 3 teams for me. It came down to Florida, and it came down to Auburn, and it came down to Georgia. So one of those 3 teams, I really feel like they're going to get in the last playoff spot. And what I actually had was the SEC team being the 3rd team in, and Oklahoma actually facing off against Alabama. So I got Alabama, Oklahoma in the first playoff game, and then I have Clemson. And this is just really, really tough right here for me to pick this game. And I really have to go with an Auburn team. I think Auburn this year with Bo Nix and the new running back Tank Bigsby. There's going to be a couple guys there, but I think Tank Bigsby by the end of the season will be the guy. They also bring in 3 4-star receivers as well to add to what they already have with Seth Williams and some other guys. If they can just stay healthy, also I feel like the defense, they are kind of revamped as well, and they'll have some guys over there. I think Auburn, I think Georgia, I think Florida. It's a toss-up for me with those 2 teams, but I really feel like Auburn can sneak in maybe at possibly 8-2 or 9-1. I don't think Auburn goes to the SEC championship, but I think that may help them. I also think it could help a Florida team if they go 9-1 with the loss to UGA. You could definitely see a Florida team getting in over Auburn. But I'm not going to put a Florida team into the college football playoff. I'm just not going to do that with me being a Florida State fan. So I'm going with Auburn over Georgia in the college football playoff, and I know a lot of Georgia fans are going to be upset about that, but it's the Jamie Newman loss. It's the Jamie Newman loss for me. If he would have been the quarterback, I really would have liked Georgia Bulldogs possibly winning the SEC or getting into the college football playoff. So I got Auburn as the 3 seed, 9-1. Possibly 8-2. If they're the best 8-2 team in the country, and there's some 9-1 teams from other conference with less competition, you could see that 8-2, 9-1 SEC team sneak in. So Florida, Auburn, Georgia, guys, pencil one of them 3 in at number 3. And then I got Clemson and Alabama in the playoff. Pinch me if you've heard that before. I think Alabama gets it done this year. They are my national champion pick this year based off of Nick Saban, based off of, not a lot of practice time during a pandemic. Things are not normal like they normally are. And I think a team with great leadership is going to win. I think Nick Saban and Alabama are the pick for the college football playoff. They're going to be very deep. They're going to be very hungry coming off a disappointing season last year at 10-2 for Alabama. They're a national powerhouse every single year, and I think they get right back to that this year. So, college football, guys, is back. Those are my conference champions. If you miss my conference champions, guys, be sure to go back and look at that. But Alabama is my college football playoff with Alabama, Oklahoma, Auburn, and Clemson being the top 4. Okay, so All right, I'm going to jump into my NFL stuff right now. And guys, if you're joining me tonight, thank you all. I really, really appreciate it. I will go ahead and edit this stuff after, and we'll go ahead and get the podcast out and post it, and we'll put that on Apple. We'll put it on Spotify and the iHeartRadio app, guys. So I want to go ahead and dive into my NFL picks this year. I have my NFL AFC and NFC playoff picture, and then also I have my division winners as well. So I'll start with my division winners, and I'm going to start in the NFC, guys. I'm an NFC guy. I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan, so I gotta root for the home team. But I do not have the Falcons winning the NFC South. Just too strong of a division this year. But I will have some Falcons news here in just a little bit with what I got going on. So in the NFC North this year, it's the Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Chicago Bears. I don't think the Detroit Lions get it done this year. So Packers, Minnesota, Chicago. All right. So one of those three teams, guys, is really going to be able to get it done. I think the Packers this year, with what they have, Aaron Rodgers, the time frame he may have, I think that Green Bay has the best chance to win the division this year. Minnesota did lose some guys. Also brought in Nick Ngakoue. They lose, of course, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen. They bring in Justin Jefferson. This is a team, Harrison Smith. They got some guys. They lost Xavier Rhodes again. And I think it's going to come down to the Packers and Minnesota. I don't think Chicago can get it done with Mitchell Trubisky and Foles. I really think they need to go out and get a new guy, draft a quarterback, and kind of start new. So I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers coming out of the NFC North with the NFC South. And this is a division that I'm really, really gonna be high on this year. I think the Saints, the Buccaneers, and the Atlanta Falcons all get into the college football get into the NFL playoffs this year. So three teams from one division all making the playoffs. I really do see it happening. I'm gonna go ahead and say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will not win the division this year. I really feel like with what's been going on the last few years, the Sean Payton and the Saints, they've been knocking on the door. They just haven't been able to knock it down. I feel like the New Orleans Saints this year will reign in the NFC. Their reign in the NFC South will continue, and they win their fourth straight division title. I feel like the Atlanta Falcons are going to push them to the brink. I feel like the Atlanta Falcons will split this year with the New Orleans Saints. But I got the New Orleans Saints at just 2 games better than the Atlanta Falcons. I got the Atlanta Falcons at 10-6. I'll have the New Orleans Saints at 12-4. And I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A lot of teams a lot of people are really high on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm just not with it. I think Tom Brady, leaving Bill Belichick, that's a huge, huge deal. I know Tom Brady still has a little bit left in the tank, but I think his best years are surely behind him. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they have to have that rapport. Chris Godwin had that rapport with Jameis Winston, and Jameis Winston wasn't a bad quarterback for this team. He just turned the ball over too much. So I think Tom Brady will turn down on the turnovers. A lot of people are high on this Bucs team, who was good for the last 5-6 games of the season. Not as high on them as everyone else is. And I just don't see you putting together with Gronk and Leonard Fournette and Brady. It's hard to not have any chemistry and not have these games and limited practices. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will make the playoffs. So I'm not going to say they will not make the playoffs. I say it, they are at 9-7. So I got the Saints, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all in the playoffs. We go out to the NFC West, and this was very, very hard for me. I actually had at first. First, I almost had the NFC West. I almost had the Arizona Cardinals being the NFC West champions. But what I ended up doing, it was tough for me. It was really hard to bet against this 49ers team. 49ers team who, is Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch at the top. They drafted good this year with Kinlaw and Ayuk at receiver. They bring those two guys in. They do lose DeForest Buckner, but they re-sign Mostert. They have Jarrett McKinnon as well, Tevin Coleman, so they got the 3 running backs. Deebo Samuel, I think he's going to be a hell of a player this year for the 49ers. And then the defense, Nick Bosa, look for him to win Defensive Player of the Year. That's my Defensive Player of the Year award winner this year. I feel like he is going to make a huge impact on this. I mean, he already had a great impact on the team last year. Look for him to make that huge, huge leap in his second season. And the Seahawks, I love the Seahawks. I love what Pete Carroll's done. But you lose Jadeveon Clowney. You bring in Jamal Adams, and I feel like the Seahawks this year. I had them making the playoffs last year. I feel like they take a step back this year, and 8-8, 9-7 is what I feel like the Seahawks can go, and I just don't think that's going to be good enough this year in an NFC that is loaded. The NFC is absolutely loaded this year, and Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. What's up, Jordan? And Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson are normally right there at the top of the NFC West, but I have them finishing third in the division this year, followed by the Cardinals. I'm gonna jump on the Cardinals bandwagon right now. Kyler Murray in his second year. DeAndre Hopkins, they go and get him the receiver. Their receiving core is really, really deep. They have Christian Kirk. Also, of course, Larry Fitzgerald, who's in his 25th year in the NFL. They also have a defense who, they went out and drafted an Isaiah Simmons. They still have Patrick Peterson. They gave Budda Baker the huge contract. So a team that went 5-10-1, this is my team that's going to make the biggest jump this year. I think they can win 5+ games is what they won last year. 10 wins for the Arizona Cardinals, 9-7, somewhere right around that mark. But I have the Arizona Cardinals finishing second in the NFC West and sneaking in the playoffs right above the Seattle Seahawks. So Pete Carroll and Seattle Seahawks, the 12th man this year, will maybe really, really miss that home field advantage. That's going to be a huge impact. These NFL teams that normally have the big home field advantage, you're not going to have that this year. So I'm going to pick the Cardinals over the Seahawks, and then I'm going to have the 49ers as my NFC West champion and the number 1 seed in the NFC. I'll hit my inhaler real quick. Sorry, guys. All right. Wake me up a little bit. All right, so in the NFC West, guys, NFC East, it's really a 2-team race right here. I don't think the Giants are ready yet. I do not think the Washington football team or whatever their name is. I don't think they're ready yet. So it really comes down to the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cowboys. And when I just look at the rosters, I mean, I know the Dallas Cowboys didn't get it done last year, but I just really like this Dallas Cowboys team. Going to be led by Mike McCarthy this year, who is a hell of a coach. Has a great resume with what he did with Green Bay. You have Dak Prescott, you got Ezekiel Elliott, and then of course you go draft CeeDee Lamb to go with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. I mean, the offense is going to be very, very good. It's just if the defense can make that jump, and they go out and sign an Aldon Smith who hasn't played in 3 or 4 years. If he can be, a shell of himself, 8 to 10 sacks, I think that'll be a great signing. And then they also went out and get Everson Griffin. They have the 2 young linebackers with Vander Esch, and yeah, I hope so. I think they will. I mean, I hope the Atlanta Falcons will play them good week 2, Dad. I hope so. And my thing is with them, the Dallas Cowboys, it's all hype within the last few years, but I feel like this year they do make that leap. Dak Prescott, a lot of people have him in the MVP conversation. I think the Dallas Cowboys will definitely win the division and get in over the Philadelphia Eagles, a team they really had last year beat, and then Philadelphia comes back and wins the division. So I'm going with the Cowboys, with the Eagles finishing in second place in the East. So my NFC bracket, guys, and here's what I have right now in the NFC. I'm going to go 1 through 7 right here. Remember, they have an extra seed this year in the playoffs in each conference, which is going to be huge. So I have the San Francisco 49ers at 13-3. I got them as the 1 seed. I got the New Orleans Saints at 12-4 as the 2 seed. I have the Cowboys at 11-5 at the 3 seed. And then the Packers at number 4 seed, 11-5. And then followed by my 3 wildcard teams. I've already told you I like the Falcons at 5. They're going to go 10-6 is my prediction. The Cardinals at 10-6. Also, will sneak in and get the 6th seed. And then I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Seahawks tied at 9-7, but the advantage goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I got Tampa Bay sneaking in the playoffs. I'm not high on them to win the division like some other teams. I'd really like the Atlanta Falcons to win the South over the Bucs. It's hard to put all these pieces together without practices and without that camaraderie. It's tough going against yourself every day and not being able to go out and have these preseason games and test yourself and stuff like that. So I'm gonna say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers make the playoffs, but I got them as a 7 seed at 9-7, guys. So that's my NFC playoff picture. 49ers at 1, Saints at 2, Cowboys at 3, Packers at 4, Falcons at 5, Cardinals at 6, and Bucks at 7. Guys, if you don't agree with me, let me know down below who you think will get into the NFL playoffs this year and each division winner. And we're going to go to the AFC, and the AFC, man, AFC is pretty stacked too. Really, really top heavy. We'll start with the AFC North, kind of a three-team race. I don't think the Bengals and Cincinnati will be there this year, but I do like what they did with drafting Joe Burrow and kind of getting rid of Andy Dalton. I like that move. I like that move for them a lot. So I'm going to start with the Baltimore Ravens. This is a team last year that went 14-2, had the MVP in Lamar Jackson, and look for them to repeat as AFC North champions. I got them losing one more game they did last year. I got them at 13-3. But Lamar Jackson, I really need him to get his first playoff win this year. He is now 0-2 in the playoffs, so I need him to get that first win. I still like Kansas City more than the Baltimore Ravens, so in the AFC. But I got the Baltimore Ravens being a little bit better than the Pittsburgh Steelers, who Ben Roethlisberger, he is going to be he's one of my top 2 picks for NFL Comeback Player of the Year this year. If his elbow can stay healthy, if he can be on the field, I really feel like Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers team can make a run towards the playoffs. Of course, Juju Smith-Schuster coming off the disappointing season last year. James Conner. If James Conner can stay healthy, I think he can be a 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown type guy. Also, they have the backup with Jalen Samuels. They go out and draft the big wide receiver Claypool from Notre Dame, who I actually had as my number 1 tight end in the NFL draft. He's a guy who can play that wide position and be a matchup nightmare with some of these linebackers in the league. So if the Steelers can get creative on offense and get the ball into Chase Claypool's hands, and then the defense, they have a guy at all 3 levels. They have Minkah Fitzpatrick in the backfield. They also in the defensive backfield, and then they also have Devin Bush, the middle linebacker, who replaces Shazier, who just announced his retirement. So shout out to Ryan Shazier, who had his career cut short due to an injury. And then look at they got another Watt brother, T.J. Watt. They got guys at all 3 levels of that defense, and that's what really kept them in a lot of ball games last year. But look for the Steelers and Ravens kind of compete for that. But I got the Ravens winning the AFC North. And then we'll go to the AFC South, and I think this is probably the closest division in all of football. You got the Indianapolis Colts, you got the Houston Texans, and you got the Tennessee Titans. All 3 of those teams are very good. The Jacksonville Jaguars are not going to be very good. I mean, they're going to be a bottom feeder in the AFC North. They really may be tanking it for Trevor this year. Look for Trevor Lawrence to be the number 1 pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars next year. That's another prediction I have. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. I think Trevor Lawrence will be a Jacksonville Jaguar by this time next year. So we'll talk about the Tennessee Titans and Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. They're not really going to surprise anybody this year. They got A.J. Brown, a good defense. They add Jadeveon Clowney, but I just feel like, the Tennessee Titans, they're really not going to shock anyone this year. They're not going to come up on anyone's radar. Everyone's going to be prepared to play them. And look for Tennessee to miss the playoffs this year. A team that was in the AFC Championship, a team that has high expectations this year. I have them at 9-7. That's just not going to be good enough to get into a very, very good AFC. I just feel like Deshaun Watson and what he's able to do at the quarterback position, although they trade away DeAndre Hopkins, and I don't like Bill O'Brien very much, but I'll take Deshaun Watson at quarterback over Tennessee's Ryan Tannehill. That's just me. That's my preference. I do like what Houston has done on defense as well, being able to. They got J.J. Watt still, and they draft Blaylock out of TCU as well. So they have some guys they bring into this defense, and they bring in Brandon Cooks, they bring in Randall Cobb, they have Will Fuller. If he can just stay healthy, he's been very fragile. And then the real domino of this offense is David Johnson. If David Johnson can be 75-80% of what he was in Arizona, watch out for this Houston Texans offense. They should make some strides this year. But I'm going to go with the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts in the AFC South. I feel like bringing in Phillip Rivers. This was a team that was 5-2 last year before they lost Brissett for the year. And Phillip Rivers, they're going to have you could see Brissett this year play some this year. I feel like he's a great number 2 guy, quarterback to have. Phillip Rivers gets the 1-year, $25 million offer. And if Phillip Rivers cannot turn the ball over and really just trust his offensive line, trust the run game with Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor, I feel like Phillip Rivers, if he can keep the turnovers down to around 10 to 12, I feel like this Indianapolis Colts team could be very scary. They add DeForest Buckner, who's going to be a demon on that defensive line, and then they also have the sideline-to-sideline linebacker and Darius Leonard, and they also have a nice little secondary as well. So I like the Indianapolis Colts to win the AFC South. And we'll move on to the AFC West, guys. So I have the Ravens in the north, the Colts in the south, and we'll go in the AFC West. And this is really the easiest one for me. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. It's Tyreek Hill. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Travis Kelce. Those are the guys I'm rolling with. They also have some guys on defense as well, Frank Clark and also Tyrann Mathieu. And I really like this Kansas City Chiefs team. The team for me that is on a lot of people's radars, and a team that can make that jump this year is Drew Lock and the Broncos. Drew Lock and the Broncos, they are a team that is very, very sneaky. They go out and draft DJ Hamler. They draft Jerry Jeudy. I mean, those two guys right there. They're going to be speedsters on that offense to go along with Cortland Sutton and Noah Fant and Drew Lock. I mean, John Elway is going out and getting his new quarterback some toys to play with. And then on defense as well, I mean, they got some guys on defense. They got Justin Simmons, one of the best safeties in all of the NFL. They also they still have no, they traded Harris. They still have what's the guy's name? The Chubb. They still have Bradley Chubb. They lose Von Miller this past year, just a few days ago with an ankle injury. But they're really going to need to see Bradley Chubb step up for this defense. So I feel like the defense, if they can just hang on till maybe Von Miller does come back, I feel like the Denver Broncos are a nice little pick to get in the playoffs and be the number. The number 2 seed out of that division in the West over the Raiders and the Chargers. So AFC East, guys, and this is a division that's been ruled by Tom Brady and Bill Belichick the last 10, 12 years, 10, 12, 15, 20 years, it seems like. And they've won like 12 straight division championships. I feel like that ends this year. Cam Newton, this is a guy. I definitely feel like the Patriots are going to win 9, 10 games, somewhere around there. But this Buffalo Bills team, when they bring in Stephon Diggs, and now they have John Brown, they got the 2 running backs, Devin Singletary and Zach Moss at running back. They got Josh Allen, who should make the big leap this year in his 3rd year. And I got the Buffalo Bills over the Patriots by 1 game. I think it's going to be a lot closer than some people think. I've seen Colin Cowherd say Patriots won't win 6 games this year. I don't believe that. And I think Cam Newton is, my number 2 player right now for NFL Comeback Player of the Year after Ben Roethlisberger. If Cam Newton is healthy, this Patriots team can be pretty good. And, he's got 4 or 5 running backs on the team as well. And, he's got N'Keal Harry outside, the 2nd-year toy for Cam Newton, and Julian Edelman. So I feel like this Patriots team is going to be a lot better than people think. They lost a lot of guys to the opt-out, but they'll just replace them, and they'll do it the Patriot way, and we'll see what they do. But I have them missing the playoffs this year for the first time in a long time. But I have them out, 1 or 2 games behind the Buffalo Bills. So we will go to my AFC playoff picture now, and we'll have my number 1 seed is the Kansas City Chiefs. My number 2 seed is the Baltimore Ravens. My 3 seed is the Buffalo Bills. And my 4 seed is the Indianapolis Colts, followed by the Texans at 10-6. I have the Steelers and Big Ben Roethlisberger sneaking in to the playoffs at number 7. I'm sorry, at number 6. And then it came down to the Broncos or the Titans right here for me. And even though Von Miller is going to be out for, maybe half, maybe the whole season, I feel like Drew Lock can really make that next step this year. Vic Fangio, will do his due diligence on the defense. He's a defensive-minded guy. But I'm going to buy the hype right now with the Denver Broncos. I'm going to buy that stock, and I'm going to put the Denver Broncos in at the 7th seed at 9-7, and then the Titans, missing the playoffs at 9-7 as well. So Broncos 9-7, Titans 9-7, but I got the Broncos sneaking in to the playoffs. And guys, this year in the NFL, I feel like it's going to be a lot of the same. It's going to be a lot of teams who were pretty good last year. A lot of people are predicting a 49ers and Chiefs matchup in the playoffs. I really feel like the Atlanta Falcons can make a really, really deep playoff push this year. They have Matt Ryan, Hayden Hurst, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones. If they can solidify the offensive line and then just get some production from these new guys on defense, Dante Fowler, Marlon Davidson, AJ Terrell. I feel like the Atlanta Falcons can make that push towards the NFC Championship. I actually have the Atlanta Falcons going to the NFC Championship this year, but I do not have them winning that game. I actually have, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to go ahead and pick the 49ers Chiefs rematch. I feel like those two teams are just on a collision course right now. So I have the 49ers and Falcons in the NFC Championship with the 49ers beating the Falcons in an NFC Championship rematch from a few years ago. And then I also have the Kansas City Chiefs beating I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts making it to the AFC Championship game and losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. So I have the Chiefs and Colts in the I have the I have the Chiefs beating the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. So I got Chiefs, Ravens, 49ers, and Falcons. Those are my championship matchups this year. And I'm going with the Chiefs to repeat as Super Bowl champions. I feel like Andy Reid and this team, I don't think there's going to be a hangover. They've been locked in their house for 6 months during this pandemic. So I feel like Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, if they can just stay healthy, they're a great bet to win the NFL championship this year and hoist the Lombardi Trophy yet again. So, man, some exciting times coming on right now with college football, guys. I am your host, Tyler Crowder of Kicking It with Crowder. I have given you my college football playoff. I've given you my division winners, my conference championship winners, and I've also picked my NFL winners and playoff bracket as well. Be sure to let me know down below who you like. Who's your college football playoff? Who's your 4 teams in there? And then who is your Super Bowl matchup you'll see this year in the NFL, guys? So I want to go ahead and break off and talk about we got an NFL game tomorrow night, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Texans, and we also have the Miami Hurricanes taking on the UAB Blazers and what should be a pretty good game. Miami's only 14-point favorites right there in that game. So I'm going to buy the extra point and get them to 13.5, which would be a -110 payout. Basically, you put $100 in, you'll win $90 on the bet. And I really like Miami. So this is one of my college football locks. Remember last year, guys, I gave you 5 college football games to look out for every week. Went 46, 39, and 2 in those games. This season, with a lot of the game, no Pac-12 games, no Mountain West games, no Big 12 games. No Big 10 games, I'm sorry. I'm going to pick 3 games each week. So I'll pick 3 games each week plus an NFL Thursday night game. So those will be my picks, my football picks this year. I may give you some other NFL picks at some point as well. But right now, I'm going to go to, I'm going to give you my 3 teams to watch out for this year. Falcons, Chiefs, Super Bowl. And that's really not a bad call right there, Zach. I have a feeling about I really have a good feeling about the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Falcons. That could really happen. The 49ers, it's just hard for me. It's hard for me to sit here and say as a Falcons fan they're going to the Super Bowl. I don't want people just to say, "Oh, you're just biased on that pick." So I feel like the Falcons. This is a team that is going to be ready. In 2016, not a lot of people had them going to the Super Bowl as well. So maybe you got that one right, Zach. I'll hold you to that pick, man. I appreciate you joining the show. It never let me know you were on the whole time, so I didn't even know you were on, Zach. But thanks for commenting, bro. So Miami, I'm taking Miami over UAB minus 13.5. D'Eriq King, that's the only guy for me who has Miami over the top. They did lose their top defensive player in Greg Rousseau, but they have D'Eriq King, and he is trying to get into the NFL. He's trying to have that type of year where Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, these transfers have had big type seasons once they transfer. So I like Miami minus 13.5 tomorrow over the UAB Blazers. I bought the -1. I'm gonna buy points. The payout's not as good, but you can buy half a point and just lose $10 or so. So I'm gonna take Miami minus 13.5 over UAB tomorrow. That is one of my locks. And then I'm also Georgia Tech versus FSU. This is a game to me where, this is a scary game right here for the Florida State Seminoles because normally Georgia Tech plays them really, really well. Of course, 4 or 5 years ago, they did lose to, Florida State loses to Georgia Tech on the blocked field goal taken back to the house, the miracle at Bobby Dodd or whatever they call it. I feel like minus 12.5 is a lot of points for this FSU team to be favored by. They haven't really, they don't have a lot of continuity. They don't have a lot of returning. I mean, they have some returning starters. I think 8 on defense, 5 on offense, something like that. I feel like Mike Norvell being in this will be his first year. He wants to get off to a hot start. And I think that Florida State does beat Georgia Tech. But I actually have the Seminoles beating them 28-24, which would actually, let Georgia Tech cover. So I'm taking Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets on that spread plus 12.5. That's an even payout right there. Wanted to maybe buy a point on that, but I stayed away from it. So I'm taking Georgia Tech plus 12.5. And then in my third game, and this is a spread that's really, really out there, but at the same time, this is a guy, Trevor Lawrence, he's my Heisman Trophy candidate this year. I feel like he is going to win the Heisman Trophy as long as Clemson goes, 10-0 and gets the college football playoff. I think that, Trevor Lawrence has the best chance to win because he is the face of college football. Justin Fields, I probably would have picked Justin Fields, honestly, with the numbers he puts up at Ohio State, but we all know what happened there. So Trevor Lawrence, guys, I picked him last year to win my Heisman. Forget about last year. I know he finished like 8th or 6th or 8th or something like that. I'm taking Trevor Lawrence this year. I feel like he is going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. And, the voters know Trevor Lawrence. So as long as he plays pretty good, throws 30 to 35 touchdowns, doesn't turn the ball over, gets his rushing yards as well. Because the guy can run too. People forget about that with Trevor Lawrence. I feel like Trevor Lawrence can win the Heisman Trophy. So I'm taking Trevor Lawrence and the Clemson Tigers minus 33.5, and it's a lot of points. It's probably going to stress me out, but I feel like Wake Forest, they've lost their number 1 wide receiver. They've also lost their number 1 defensive player, I think, who's already opted out, and then they lose Jamie Newman, their quarterback. So Wake Forest, Dave Clawson, he's got his hands full with this Clemson Tigers program. Look for Clemson to jump up Wake Forest, 21-0, 28-7, something like that in the first half, and then Clemson kind of shut them out in the second half. So I got 45-10. I got them barely winning the spread, but I got 45-10 Clemson. So minus 33.5. Those are my 3 locks this week, guys. So Clemson, Georgia Tech. I'm taking Miami and Clemson as the favorites, and I'm taking the points with Georgia Tech. So and then also I like the Iowa State game. I can't remember exactly who they play. I know the spread's around -11, -10, somewhere right around there. Also like Brock Purdy and the Iowa State Cyclones as well. That's one of my leans. So just an extra pick kind of to give you that won't count against my record. And then the NFL game, that's the Thursday night game. I told you we're going to pick the Thursday night games here, which are normally, a lot of things happen weird on Thursday nights. They're not, they're a little weird. And I'm going to take, the Chiefs are -9 against the Texans tomorrow, and that is a lot of points for me for a team that, didn't have any preseason games. They really haven't had the practices that they normally have. Yes, they have a lot of the same offense. They're going to try to work Hilaire Edwards into that offense, and I think he's going to have a big-time year at running back for the Chiefs, but I'm going with the Texans tomorrow night with the points, and I'm going to buy the extra point and get it to +10, so the payout will be around -20, -120. But I like the Texans +10 against the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. That's a lot of points in the NFL. A lot of the point spreads are between 3 and 6 points in the NFL, and with the Texans, a lot of people don't expect them to do as good this year because they don't have DeAndre Hopkins, but they do have number 4 back there, Deshaun Watson. He is a hell of a quarterback, a guy who just does it the right way. Brandon Cooks, if he can stay healthy, I know he's had about 6-7 concussions. God, if he could stay healthy, and Will Fuller, another guy who's just very fragile. If those two guys can stay healthy, and then Deshaun Watson, I think this could be a high-scoring game tomorrow night. Look for 42-35. 42-32, somewhere in that range, 42-34, somewhere like that. I feel like the Texans will cover the spread -10, but I got the Kansas City Chiefs winning the game on Thursday night, by 6 to 7 points. So those are my picks, guys. Go ahead and let me know if any of you guys make those picks, and we'll try to get we'll try to make sure we're above 500 like we were last year. So 46, 39, and 2. I am 35-22 on my MLB and NBA picks, 63%. I am since August 1st with those. I was 8-2 last week on my picks, 2-2 so far this week, guys. And tonight I had the San Diego Padres -1.5 plus money at 105. I had them against the Rockies going for the sweep tonight, and one of their better pitchers on the mound. I had them as my lock, and then I also have the Denver Nuggets at +9.5, I believe. I had them over the Clippers with like a -140 payout. So wouldn't be shocked if the Nuggets actually maybe won this game, or at least win another game in the series. I think it could go 6 or 7 there as well. So there was some of my betting picks, guys. With what's been able to go on with legalized gambling and everything. So that's been great for not only the states that have done that, but it's just not as frowned upon as it used to be. So guys, we got the betting picks for you. Take Miami -13.5, take Georgia +12.5, take Clemson -33.5, and tell me how you roll this weekend. And also the Texans, guys, you got to bet on the NFL first game. I'm going to lock in the Texans at +10 over the Chiefs, guys. So those are my picks. Those are my division winners. Those are my playoff picks. All that, guys, tonight on the special edition of the college and NFL season, Kicking It with Crowder, episode 2, guys. Thank y'all so much for joining. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit the share button, guys, so more people can see this. And, of course, you can always find this after the fact. We'll upload it on Spotify, Apple, and the iHeartRadio app, guys. Thank y'all so much for joining me tonight. I am out, guys. Thanks for kicking it. Let's